Hey everyone, it's Sean here from Worldwide Red Show. Listen, you know what to do if you're new around here, whether you like or don't like. Some say I'm the yank that you love to love, or maybe don't. Listen, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Get in the comments during the stream. Just starting to do some more live streams here now that we're getting a little more settled after my big move. 2021's been a crazy year for me. I'm just trying to get things settled in. Listen, I wanted to address some things today because, quite frankly, our fan base and some of what I see on social media flat out gets on my nerves. So I just wanted to just bring some things to light, kind of get some stuff off my chest, so to speak, and hopefully you guys will at least keep an open mind. Just want to tell you a little bit about myself, how I roll. So if you come on this channel, you can have any opinion about our club, about the game. You can say what you want. If I think it's crazy, I'll tell you it's crazy. But at the end of the day, I respect people's opinions and views. I know we live in a society, not just football, but in a world, Western society, where people who have dissenting or different views aren't really accepted, quite often ostracized. We have a media that presents really the extremes of our society as a representatives of our whole society, which just flat out isn't how things work. I know here in America, for example, I'm personally, not to get into politics, but I'm more libertarian in nature in that I don't like to be the government telling me what to do. I like people, all people, no matter who you are, where you're from, to have the same type of freedom, same type of rights and all that. And I honor people's views, even views that are different than mine. I don't like echo chambers. That being said, I've realized over the last few years of streaming and being involved in social media with Manchester United that our fan base isn't the same. We're quick to label each other, talk about each other, get all vile and nasty, especially on football Twitter. So real quick, I've been following this club for well over 20 years, and at the end of the day, I don't have the same type of maybe attachment to the club locally, because obviously I'm not from Manchester, that some of you have. However, this club has really got me through some dark times. I've sometimes, when life is crazy and you're going through hell and fighting things, you want to make sure that you have your things to get your mind off of life, and sports have always been an escape for me. And I have fallen really in love with this club and this sport over the last 20, over 20 years. And, because of that, I don't have maybe some of the loyalty to, for example, Ollie, who people call a legend, right? Now, I remember 99. And I remember I hadn't been watching very long, actually. So, I probably started really following the club heavy around 97, mid 90s. I started, but I didn't really get heavy into it until probably about 97. It was more just kind of casual before then. However, I don't want to get into all that. I just want to say that, ultimately my loyalty is to this badge and to the club over anything else, right? And what I think is best for the club. And what I think is best for the club may not be what's best for the club. And what you think is best may not be what's best, but that's why it's called football opinion. We like to talk about these things and banter and all that stuff. But lately, actually for over the last year or so, the banters really went to a whole different level. So I want to talk about real quick, how I viewed Ollie from day one before I get into this whole toxic fan base nonsense that we have and how I see some of that stuff. And then I'm going to give you some reasons why I feel the way that I do. But first and foremost, let me talk real quick about how I've viewed Ollie from day one. So obviously, like everyone else, things at the club had gotten really toxic under Jose Mourinho. We were all wanting a change. And so Ole Gunnar Solskjaer comes in. Now, when Ole came in, he was playing a specific way, a specific system, and really brought a smile back to the players' faces, a smile back to our faces. And it was an amazing run. Now, I said at the time, I remember when we beat PSG and everyone was saying, give him a contract, give him a contract. And I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine, and I said, listen, I don't think he should get the job. What has he done in the past to show he deserves this level of job? And so I started to look into his coaching resume, or his CV, as you guys would say. And he was in no way ready for this type of job. So what I told my friend is, I was like, listen, if the club had any sense, which we know that they don't, and we know our biggest problem is at board level and at ownership level, we understand that. I said, they would not hire this guy right away. I said, there's no way. I said, they would do their due diligence. And at the end of the season, they could make a decision from there. But they didn't. Why? Because there's always pressure from the crowd, right? And the weird thing about our fan base is we got this weird ideology that just because people go to games that they know more about the games, or that somehow they're a better fan. I personally have been to games. I have spent my hard-earned money and flown over to Old Trafford. And I'm just going to tell you this for free. One trip over to England, actually, I came back with money because I went over there to work. However, there have been times where I've made that journey where between my airfare, getting a ticket, matter of fact, the first time I ever went, I got to be honest with you guys, I'm not going to throw the website under the bus, but actually I got scammed with some tickets. So I was supposed to get these tickets and I didn't end up getting them. It was a mess. So I called the club and it was just crazy. But the club really did good by me because I was a member at the time. So they put me in a great seats and it all worked out. So, but I've spent a lot. I've spent some good money flying from, Washington, D.C. Into Heathrow, grabbing a taxi, down to Milton Keynes where I have some friends that live, and we always jump on the Virgin train from there. And we, roll up to Manchester, to Piccadilly, jump off, watch a match, stay overnight, hit Nando's. You know how the whole thing goes, man. It's a great experience. And I've seen people at the stadium completely blitzed out their mind, don't have a clue what they're doing. And so I don't sit here and say because people go to the game that they know anything about the game. It's the same as American sports. I've played certain sports into college, which is high level here. And I've been to games and listened to people talk, and they don't have a clue what they're talking about. They just love the game. They're passionate, and that's great, right? But there's this thing in our fan base, like, that because they sing about Ole at the stadium, that he has this divine right to stay as manager, where I've never felt that he should have got the job to begin with. So I want to say that, up front. After Ole gets the job, he changes his style of play, his system and everything. And the problem I've always had with Ole is that, and I've been consistent with this from day one, is that he's consistently inconsistent. And many times he sells us a dream that he doesn't perform. And I'll talk more about that later, but let's get into the fan thing, because we have all these fans. It's like, that if you think this way, you're a fake fan. This is some of the most arrogant, self-righteous crap I have ever heard in my life. That if you think a certain way, you are a fake fan, right? You're a plastic, or go support City, or whatever people say. Bunch of nonsense, right? So I've heard this stuff over and over and over again. Obviously, I'm a plastic and a fake fan because I'm from America. I'm a Yank. So how could I possibly love the club, right? That's a lot of these people's mindset and mentality. But the thing that really blows my mind is how we'll label each other based upon differences of opinion, right? Whether someone's Ole in or Ole out, right? They should want what's best for the club. And they, in their own world, that's how, him being there, him not being there, is how they get that. Now, let me say this to all of you. Personally, I never want our team to lose a match. Personally, I don't, because I'm overly competitive. I get angry. I hate losing. I'm a sore loser. I get irritated. Now, listen, I'm more vibes and chill this season because I've been saying this for over 2 years. I know what I'm getting with this manager. I already know it. So I'm not stressed one way or the other. I'm good with it. I know how it's going to be. I know how, we can go on runs. It'll be good. It'll be bad. I get the whole thing. So I don't get overly worked up, but I still hate to lose. Like, I hate to admit this. I threw my remote on Saturday. Like, why am I chucking remotes, man? It costs money. I was just so mad at how we were playing. But you'd think that I'll be used to this by now. But I hate it. But for someone to say, I want Manchester United to lose because the quicker we lose, the quicker Ole has to leave. I cannot say that person is a fake fan because they feel that way. I personally would not feel that way. I hate losing. But I get the sentiment. Here's the sentiment I get. If Ole being out of the club for that person is one of the best things to happen to the club, then guess what? They actually are more of a fan than you are. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they're willing to suffer through the pain and embarrassment and anger of losing so that they can get what they think is right. Now, that's not how I roll. I don't like it, especially when I hear people talk about let's lose to Liverpool. But I also know that a lot of people do what they do for effect and to do what you guys call taking the piss. They're just messing with people. Some people do it for tweets, retweets. There are some guys I think are sincere. There are guys on this platform that are sincere that I highly respect. There are others that, I've had communication with that, quite frankly, I just think they do what they do because they're chasing clout, so to speak, or they want a bigger following. Me, I have actually real life situations going on. That's just how I function. Listen, so here's what I'm talking about. Here's my guy, G. Good to see you. I'm Ollie out now. Oh, so you went from Ollie in to Ollie out to now Ollie out. I should not be seeing. Listen, G, here's what I'm saying about that. I'm just trying to explain to people why I personally am like you. I would not want to lose to Liverpool ever, but I understand the sentiment. The sentiment is the quicker we get this guy out, the better for our club. That's what people think. So I'm not going to call them a fake fan just because they want the guy out so bad that they're willing to lose to people that we hate, right? I'm not going to do it because the fact is I mentally understand where they're coming from, even though I don't agree with it. So just because I don't agree with something doesn't make me a better fan than you or someone else a fake fan. And I'm just so sick of hearing. I watched this guy on do a video today, and I watched it on football Twitter because I'm the type of person where, which by the way, G, if you'd like to jump in at any time, just let me know. Shoot me a message because I can always send you a link on this debate or discussion. By the way, but I just wanted people to feel where I'm coming from on this very topic. That I'm watching this guy today on football Twitter, and he's like, he's calling people out by name who he says are fake fans and this and that. I'm like, this guy's so full of crap. He's like, I go to the match, I go to this, I go to that, and so because of that, I'm a better fan than so and so. He was pulling this whole, I go to all the games. These people are fake fans and all this kind of stuff. I back Ollie because, listen, if you back Ollie at this point, right, I got to be honest with you, right? You have a worse agenda than the people that would rather lose. Because if you can see all that we've seen for 2 years and still be like blindly like, okay, I can get you not being toxic, right? I can get you not being Ollie out to where you're toxic and all that, but you cannot tell me that you sincerely can see what's been happening at this club and be okay with it as if things are just fine and Ollie's at the wheel, Ollie's going to do it. You guys that were singing and that sing every time that we score shamelessly, seeing what's happening in this club, man, it's crazy. And so we have this toxic positivity, right? Where no matter what, you just got to back the club and back them in. The funny thing is, I've never heard this type of toxic positivity when Jose was in charge or LVG was in charge, or David Moyes was in charge. If it was anyone else, you guys would be killing this guy, killing him. But because of who he is, he gets by with it. Now, back to what I was saying, I did not feel he should have got the job to begin with. So I've been consistent for over 2 seasons, right? I've been consistent with it. Since Burnley, since the loss at Burnley, before lockdown, I feel like the manager has been extremely fortunate. I think that when Bruno came in, the Bruno bounce kept him in a job. I feel he should have left after Champions League last year when we bailed out. I feel like he should have left after we failed miserably in the final. There's a lot of things that's happened that's caused me to feel this way. But to be out screaming Ollie out, I want him out and being all crazy and vile about it, I haven't done that. However, I have to call you guys out who've been ridiculous in this. I've been seeing this all over social media now. Oh, I know many people. I've seen this from big accounts. I know many people have changed their stance on Ollie. Give them the space to change their stance and don't belittle them. Man, hell no. You guys, listen, I've been called fake, negative, all this and all that for 2 years and on different streams. I've had people who are now Ollie out come on streams to try to debate me over stuff I was saying a year ago that was flat out right. And now they're all out. Man, get out of here with that craziness, man. Get out of here with that craziness. I've just seen it over and over and over again where people will just come on and all of a sudden, I'm going to get you in, G, if you got a moment just to talk about this. Sorry, guys. I've really dealt with some crazy stuff from people when it comes to, you're negative. It's funny because there's one stream I go on. I remember when I went on one time, had been on a while. And one of the mods was like, "Oh no, it's about to get negative." Why? Because I'm talking the truth, as if I want to sit here and say that I don't want us to win or this or that. No, it's just like when you call out bad performances, when you call out the same problems over and over and over again, when you call out the things you see, because it's this manager and he is the most protected manager in the history of management that I can remember. If you call out anything, you're negative. There are literally platforms that I do not go on anymore because they are so closed-minded on this issue that I just felt like I'm the only one that feels the way that I do. But here's the thing. Do we all want Ollie to succeed? Absolutely. Do we all want Manchester United to win everything? Typically. But are there people that don't want to win right now because they want the guy out? Yes. That doesn't mean they're fake. I mean, I could literally sit here and say people that are still acting like we haven't been trash for a long time, this consistent inconsistency and this toxic positivity with our head in the sand. I could call you fake because you prolonging this for a long time when this change should have been, all he did what he needed to do, there should have been a change already. And so now we're reaping the whirlwind of it. Real quick, I want to bring in one of my friends I haven't seen in a while. G, good to see you, sir.
So I've got some work in the background. Bro, how you doing? You okay?
Man, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm fine. Good to see you with your channel, man. Like, I'm liking the grind. I'm liking the background and everything, like, man. So hope I can come on and can do some we can talk about this mess, basically.
Yeah.
This mess.
G, listen, G, real quick. I just
man.
I'm getting, yes, I hear you fine. I'm so frustrated by this idea of who's a real fan and who isn't a fan based upon a difference of opinion. And bro, I think it might be more of my real irritation with society in general and how it's bled into sport. Because I don't know how it is in England, but in America, we have a two-party system, for example, in politics. So it's like you're either on one extreme or the other. When most people with common sense live more in the middle, but it's the extremes that have the loudest voice. And so what happens is there's this temptation to fall in line with one of the extremes. And, today I guess I had enough, bro. I want to hear your thoughts on this because, there's a real top red that I've followed and I support his YouTube ventures and his channel. And I love his content, even when I completely disagree with it. But over the last year or so, especially with Ollie, he's been very, very pro Ollie. The whole platform is pro Ollie, right?
Okay.
And so, which is fine. But the thing is, he's been very negative toward anybody that questions the manager, whatever. They're Muppets, they're morons, they're trolls, or whatever, and very negative. But now we've seen what we've seen more and more. Big people are switching. He made this post about how I haven't been on social media as much because of my mental health and all this kind of crap. And I'm like, okay, listen, I'm not making light of your mental health, bro. We all go through it, right? I'm in my 40s. I've been through some hell. I get it. However, you can't spend a year telling people like me, because I doubt somebody or have a different opinion than you, that I'm some Muppet, plastic, go support City or whatever. And now that hey, what they've been saying is right all along, just don't say anything back to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you think about that.
I mean, fundamentally, it's like, I mean, I couldn't watch the game on Sunday, so I was just tracking the sort of reading summaries online, when they post kind of updates and stuff like that, to get myself in tune with everything. And to be honest, I had my girl over and was like, why don't I want to ruin the time I have with her, stuff like that. Being tracked by
kill the mood, bro.
Why kill the mood? You know what I mean? So it actually even gave me time to just reflect on everything, really, so I could form it. Because the initial reaction will always be visceral, and that's why I always like to come to these things after spending to actually process what's happened, so you're more logical and less emotional, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, at the end of the day, I think people, going back to your polarizing points, like people forget that at the end of the day, football's about entertainment and about enjoyment and stuff. That's why, like, I understand why people like, listen, I'm not entertained by why. It was the same reason why I got why people didn't like watching Mourinho, because it was like, fundamentally at the core, yeah, I know it's about winning, but to be honest, I think at its core, it's actually about entertainment. Like, I get it, you know, having a Champions League, Premier League, Surviving Black. At the end of the day, you want to be able to watch a team, you know, and be like, whoa, that was a great game of football. Like, whoa, I invested an hour of my time that I would spend elsewhere watching a game of football that entertained me. You know what I mean? Even whether we win a trophy or not, that's where it starts, is what I'm saying. Why I say that is that when it comes to Oli in or Oli out debate or discussion or what have you, it obviously makes sense. A lot of people, like, because it's not even just if we were losing games but we were playing great football. I don't think anyone would really have a, like, you know, like when Liverpool and the Klopp initially, when they were conceding 3 goals when we were losing, it's like they were still playing. It was great on the eye. So I don't think if we were in this position, but we played well, I don't think you'd see many people go, well, you know, because you'd think eventually we will get something from it. Or at the very least, it's an entertaining game of football, you know, because that emotion of football, that's why when, like, Ronaldo, we played terrible against Villarreal, but when Ronaldo scored that goal, of course I was elated.
Absolutely.
Because it makes you football. You're like, whoa, wow. It's, you know, I'd be surprised if there were fans who were like, darn, why did Ronaldo score? Like, because that's the moment that you. So ultimately what I'm saying, bro, is that, like, I just think, like, now, because obviously I've set up on the outs, and that's tied towards, well, just quite a few things, you know, like his ongoing stubbornness, you know, his the fact how we're really playing, to be honest, you know. So even last season there was a kind of at least a second half FC vibe where you're like, oh wow, we're attacking, we're pressing, we're doing all these things, we're playing better. We're not even seeing that at all. And fundamentally, I have a suspicion, and this is the main reason that potentially he's being he's lost the dressing room. And so I always say, if a coach, however good they are, it doesn't matter how many titles they've won. If you've lost the dressing room, then that's it. You have to go. It's as simple as that. It happened with Jose.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I think. My only thing, and this is why maybe we disagree with a lot of the fan base, is that, like, when we're talking about the next managers, the ones that keep on getting talked about, Zidane and Conte, I have issues with both of them because of the nature of our football clubs.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, well, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, for example, we don't want to consider him a philosophy. Then I say, I look at Zidane and go, I don't exactly know what Zidane's philosophy is. Yeah. And while I get that he won 3 Champions Leagues, a lot of that, and this is my personal opinion, was because he's a good man manager, had good engaged management. But let's be real, that Real Madrid team was full of individual moments, really class players, you know. So to then take that manager, put this into Manchester United's team that a lot of people say need coaching and philosophy, have no experience in the Premier League, it's a risk. Conte, the opposite. He's won Chelsea, you know, a Premier League title. He's got experience in the Premier League. He's got a system of philosophy. The only issue with Conte is that, like, again, it would be a Tristan. He tends to play through at the back, so be more defensive. Is that what people want? They want to go back to a, in quote, Jose-like type style of maybe more pragmatism. And then the other thing is that his history shows that the dude gets into fights. He loses dressing rooms. He gets in discussion with board owners, you know. So he loses. I still remember when he was Chelsea, I think he got in a fight with, like, Costa and Hazard, all these big names, and there's issues for me for both just going forward. And if it was up to me, I'd love to steal Julian Nagelsmann from Bayern Munich. He was my first choice. It's always been I think I told you even before. He was my first choice as Manchester United coach. And you see what he's doing at Bayern. Yeah. You know.
He's been my second choice. But here's the thing. For me, I say this back to your initial points about how people respond viscerally after losses. You know, I say this in my real life situation when I'm training and dealing with people when I was an executive. One of my statements is, when your heart is broke, your head don't work, right?
Yeah.
So whenever we have this emotional attachment to our club and something bad happens, immediately we don't like to stop and think and process. It's not just club, it's in any arena of life, right? The last thing you want to do is be making huge life decisions after, for example, you lose a parent, or after you go through a divorce, right? Your heart's broke, your brain ain't gonna work, right? So don't make big decisions in crazy moments. You know, my problem with Ollie is that, like you, we've seen the same issues really for over 2.5 seasons. It's not new. You know, I remember coming on your show, and we've talked about this before. I mean, this is the thing that bugs me about the fan base. They act like, well, these people are reactionary. Like, no one's reactionary. We've seen this for, at least myself. Now, I've never been like vehemently nasty Ollie out. You know, I may have been like criticizing Ollie. I joke with the names. I have a name for him. I call him. People say it's disrespectful because I call him man like tidy cats. The reason I say that is because in America, I don't know about the UK, but there's a big kitty litter brand called Tidy Cats. And the idea is that, one, the guy has 9 lives like a cat, because no matter what, he can be walking through his own crap and he's still going to come out without even a stain on it, right? So that was kind of why man like 9 lives, right? That's I've always called him that. I've called him, in fits of anger, Ole Gunnar Glazer before. I don't know if I've done that on camera though, but that, because I believe he's a shield for the Glazers and he's a perfect manager for them. And so this is where me and Indiana had a disagreement last year. Well, he had a disagreement when he was still ultra Ole, and he jumped on a stream and tried to put me in my place. And I was just here thinking, this guy, he's going to eat these words one day. And now he's Ole out.
Sean, what I would say to the fans though is that, like, I do think yesterday's game, and maybe not specifically you, but I think in general, because you know, I noticed, for example, a lot of so this is where I bring my like logical head in and go, even though I'm Ollie out now, I think I was speaking to, who was it? I think it was, or some guy on Twitter, and I was like, I should be able to be criticize Ollie and say Ollie out, but I should also be able to criticize the players, because there's this kind of thing where, like, you know, I think he posted along and said, like, I have empathy with the players, I can't blame the players. And I'm like, no. I should be able to still criticize the players. And I think I watched actually the highlights of the game. That was just on seeing something. And I was just like, what the hell is Maguire doing?
It was terrible.
What the hell is that? You know, and yes, you can make the coaching quiz that, like, he should have, like, for example, Ollie, what people could have called as a coach, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer shouldn't have picked him. Okay, I'll give that. That's a coaching criticism.
No, he won't do that though. He's shown in the past, when it comes to big changes, big moves, he doesn't. He's weak. He won't do it. He always takes off the easy change. It's, you know, last year it was always Mason. This year it's going to be Jaden or whoever's not going to kick up a fuss. You know, the new person, Donny Van de Beek. I mean, look how they've always said Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is this great man manager. And I listen, not to run him through the dirt, but there have been times where he's shown the last few seasons he's not the best man manager.
No.
If he likes you, he's a great person. Jesse Lingard said it, G. He said, you know, Ollie's a friend. Bro, I don't need you to be his friend. I need you to be his leader and his coach. You know, I'm not saying there shouldn't be friendship in that. But, I mean, I just think that sometimes the he's cool, he was one of us vibe only carries you so far.
I don't disagree with you, but I also do think that there is an element of professionalism that you as a football player have to carry. So the best example for me is Edison Cavani. For me, he's currently right now, he's the best, despite being to your country, he's the best professional at the club. Why? I get with the Uruguay thing going away, but, like, he knows his body. So when he is fit, he's like, yeah, I'm fit and I'm going to give my 100%. And to be honest, that game against Villarreal changes because he comes on. And even that game against Everton, with him and Martial, we actually played okay when him and Martial were there. And then things changed when, I'm not going to talk about Ronaldo because I have issues there. But the point I'm trying to make here is that, like, you're right, but it's not like these players are like 19, 20, 25, etc. Maguire, for me, is like, and maybe this is just me, but, like, you're 28. So you've been in the game for a while. So if you are not fit, which you declare to coaching staff, something like that, we feel you're not 100%, we know your body, then just say, listen, I need extra games, some extra sessions, it's fine, do it right now because I don't want to cost the team because you are a leader. That's why I've always been quite harsh on Maguire because I'm like, you're the captain. You know, if you can't do your role, then delegate that elsewhere. That's just life. Because of course, the coach will always want to pick their best players or try and pick their best team, you know, and there'll be pressure there. But you as an individual still have to be like, listen, bro, I take accountability, take responsibility, etc. And that's, like I said, not taking away from Ollie, but it's credence to the fact that I'm looking at this team, I'm like, the leaders, the accountability, etc., etc. So even if you take away Ollie from this go, okay, take Ollie away. We're saying the same thing with Jose. We're saying the same thing with Van Gaal. You know, if Conte comes in, does Maguire suddenly become a better leader to make better decisions? I don't know, you know. So that's where I'm kind of like, and this is my logic going like, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has taken this team as far as it can go, and I always give him props because at the end of the day, he's leaving the team in a better position, squad-wise, than previous coaches have. And you have to give him,
unless everyone leaves that could be leaving at the end of the season, then we're in a big mess.
There is that. I mean, I still think that I would still say, because I mean, Pogba, Ronaldo will probably still be here.
Pogba, Anthony Martial, Matic is a year older, if not gone. You have Jesse, most likely. Well, he might try to be out the door, but you have Donny Van de Beek, who was, you know, our midfield help that we needed. He's going to be out. You got Edison Cavani. He's you know, off wherever. We could literally name 6 or 7 players. You know, got to figure out the De Gea situation with Henderson, which, you know, we have a lot that could really. And this is where, you know, I was saying a year ago, we had to get these things together because it could really come off the tracks. But back to your Maguire point, I got to say this, G. I don't know what you think about this. I know people slag off Pogba, you know, for different reasons. You know, I didn't feel like he had his best game at all or covered himself in glory at all on Saturday. You know, for me, he's our best player. Does he always play the best? No. I feel like this year, especially, you know, last year I started getting hate because I was calling out Bruno, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's because you like Pogba." I'm like, "No, I like them both." I mean, it's not. It's just, I don't like how Bruno is used because the free role that he's given this year, it's even worse. Where he's like a secondary striker. You know, he literally exposes our midfield by being so undisciplined. And then when you have Mason, who's a striker, not a winger, up on one side, and you have Marcus, for example, on the other side, neither of them track back, right? So you have 4 players. You have the striker, whoever he is. You have the 2 wide players and Bruno, who are all forward. They never get behind the ball, so we are so easy to play against. And so then you have, like, when you have Pogba there, who's not great defensively, which, by the way, if you check his numbers and watch him, he's better defensively than Scott McTominay. But that's a topic for another day. You have Matic, who's older, right? So let's take them 2 out. Let's just say it's Fred and McTominay, who neither are the best defensively or decision-making. They're high energy. You know, so they can try to cover a lot of ground, especially Fred covers a lot of ground, tries to break up play, but then when he gets the ball.
Sorry to interrupt your point, Sean, but like, I'm not going to lie. Like, there was a part of me that was like, because there was a lot of United fans, because as much as I agree that Fred has not been good, like, I do think that a lot of the hatred towards him has been unjustified, just because of the. Well, I won't say. I mean, not what I mean is unbalanced. So in a sense, it's like. It was almost the point where, like, people like, well, if you get rid of Fred and you get rid of McTominay and you just put Matic and Pogba in the midfield, then we're suddenly going to win the treble. That was the vibe I was getting from Twitter. It was almost like that would fix its own thing. And it was like, I don't think
you have to fix the front. And this is what I was telling people, but it made me a hater because I said Bruno's played as a secondary striker. And as a coach myself, you know, who's had to teach myself and really learn this game, you know, the game is won and lost in the middle, right? And if you don't have any discipline at all, and you have most teams are playing 4-3-3, right? A large percentage of teams. You already have 3 against 2 in the midfield when people don't get back behind the ball. And many times I see Bruno pressing the goalkeeper by himself. You know, no organized pressing. He literally runs and does whatever he wants. That's coaching. Bruno, people say, oh, see, Bruno's been exposed. He's not that good. Bruno Fernandes can be a great player. He just needs but the thing is, he saved Ollie's job. He is the big rooster in the barnyard, so to speak. Before Ronaldo. So do you think for a second that Ollie's going to try to put Bruno in his place? Don't think so. Don't think so. And so this is my issue when it comes to leadership, right? We've struggled with this. The most dominant personality and best leader from what we've seen in the dressing room is Pogba. And let me explain why. Why is Paul Pogba the one giving interviews after a match like the other day? He's not a captain. Where's the captain?
It should have been Maguire. It should have been Harry Maguire.
Or the vice captain. Where's Maguire? Where's Bruno? When they both stink it up, you don't see him anywhere. But all the blame when it comes to players goes to Pogba, Fred, or Anthony Martial. Well, Fred or Anthony Martial wasn't playing. It's funny how when we've said it forever, we don't create from the midfield. Why? Because you have McTominay and Fred. That's not what they're good at, right? The reason I don't have a problem with Fred necessarily is because I know what Fred is.
Yeah.
Fred is he's a box-to-box player that needs to win the ball quickly and then give it to somebody else.
You only have to watch. Sorry, you only have to watch Fred play for Brazil.
Yeah.
And he's a different player.
But he's got Fabinho or Casemiro with it.
Yeah, exactly.
McTominay, no disrespect, because I know my friend Connor's in the chat, so I don't no disrespect to Connor, but Scott McTominay can't even get in the midfield in Scotland. International football is different, but we know our midfield's a problem. Ollie believes in them. So here's the thing. Connor says he'll never want us to lose to get a manager out, but the results continue. Questions need to be asked, and the board needs to look at the situation. Connor can tell you I've been at this discussion for over a year, right? I've taken a battering. I've been called fake. I've been called this and been called that. I've been called plastic or negative simply because by calling out what I see. I have no agenda against the manager. Listen, how romantic is it, G? I mean, listen, how romantic would it have been for us to have turned Ollie into somehow the next Sir Alex and won everything with him? G, if your girl likes Manchester United, you wouldn't even have to put on the slow jams on Sunday to bust a move. I mean, she would be all over you, excited about that situation because the romance that it is. But I have to look at things pragmatically, and I've seen this for years. Whether it's been on your show, I see Rich's. Hey, Rich, how you doing? Rich is in the comments. I've seen it on Rich's show. I've said it on these shows where, we've seen what Ollie is, what he could have been, but he changed, right? He sold us a lie. Let's talk about all the lies that he sold us, right? This United DNA. First off, what really is that outside of attacking football? Because did Sir Alex have the United DNA when he came? I mean, did he? But here's the thing. And then people don't do Ollie any favors because they compare the two. How can you – Ollie relegated Cardiff and failed at Moda once and then won a league in a league that's not even the standard of MLS. So I don't hear nothing about his CV. Sir Alex Ferguson was not only breaking up the monopoly that was the duopoly going on up in Scotland. He was winning the European Cup with Aberdeen. These are not the same person, right? So that bugs me when I hear that comparison. And the thing is, I feel like there's this love of nostalgia where we want to get back to the Sir Alex days. When the truth is, the Sir Alex days, G, the game has changed since then. I think it's not the same anymore.
I agree with that it's changed, but I think to be fair, I think this was all in the background of having a couple of. I think a lot of people, himself included, were like, "Listen, we did obviously had Moyes, who obviously was successful at Everton, and we've had Van Gaal, Mourinho, all of whom were successful in Europe and successful winning domestic titles. Mourinho even won it recently, within 2 years, and for whatever reason, it didn't work. So I think the logic behind a lot of people is like, well, okay, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer manager is this thing. Let's try something different. We tried the established route. Let's try something different. And obviously, when he came in, that bounce, that football, that PSG, all the rest of it. So I think it's understandable that other people are like, yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see how this goes. Like, it's a different thing. He knows the club. Maybe that was it. Let's go forward and see what happens. Now, obviously, how many years later, that hasn't been the case, So I think that, I mean, to be honest, you could probably definitively say that I think the Europa League final was probably the final coffin. I think had he won the Europa League, even with this situation now, I think maybe there still might be a bit of respite because he'd be like, he's got a trophy behind his belt. He's had a poor start to the season, but at the end of the day, he's won a trophy. There might be a bit more credit, but I think the fact that he lost that final, and I still don't understand why he didn't make his substitutions, why he ran Rashford to the ground, and more importantly, why he didn't sub on Henderson for De Gea, who's a better penalty. But that's behind the by.
Man, I don't know if you watched my videos and said that.
I do.
Because let me tell you this. I told Rich, I believe, that because Rich said to me one time, he said, "Is there anything that Ollie could do to make you Ollie in, so to speak?" Right? And I said, in the Europa League final, if he would have made that change, it wouldn't have made me Ollie in, but I would have been giving him so much credit for that, win or lose, because he would have shown me something different. And I guess for me, G, it's never been personal, like with Ollie, or I have some agenda. No. Like, I just want to see something different than what I've seen, and I haven't. And now the stuff that he sold us that's become a lie, this attacking football, United DNA, youth courage, success. We haven't had any success. I see a cowardly style of play and many times cowardly decisions from a manager. So there's not courage. And youth, give me a break. He is not the only youth player he has brought through.
Greenwood.
No, because Mason don't count for me. Because everyone was talking about Mason. Everyone was going to play Mason. He's an anomaly because he's a talent. So if you want to give me Mason, I will. But Mason would have been playing with Jose or anyone, just because Mason's a different level. But he's given tons of debuts just to say he did it. The only person he tried to bring through was Brandon Williams. And Brandon Williams is just not United quality.
He wasn't good enough.
So he was good. So for me, I haven't even seen that. We have guys that I've seen cameos. I've watched some youth games. Yeah. And to me, this Hannibal guy, I mean, how he's not – how guys like that aren't even getting a chance. The way he's done Donny van de Beek is blatantly obvious that he just didn't want him, and he's trying to prove a point to the board that he could win without him.
What I would say on that is that, like, and this is where, again, I think it's important that people don't get overly have to use some degree of I agree, absolutely right, Sean. The way that the whole Donny van de Beek situation just doesn't make any sense to me, at all. It really just doesn't. But what I would say is that when people use the term, but an excellent manager or fantastic manager would use Donny van de Beek and improve him, I do have to wonder that when I look at that ex-Ajax team and look at the players that have left that were touted as being world class, Hakim Ziyech, okay, he's under Tuchel. Now Chelsea fans are saying that the dude is finished. De Ligt, who was there, has been benched to Juve. He's even under Allegri now as a coach. He's not performing. Luke de Jong, Barca fans are saying that these guys garbage. He's been terrible for them. So, and obviously the individual players, but these are all players that were part of that team that have been managed by different managers, some better than others, have been around good players, and yet they've all struggled. And I'm not saying that's what Van der Beek would do, but what I'm saying is that we shouldn't use the Ajax team success as an indication that that player would therefore be successful, given that all those other players who have left Ajax have frankly not been successful. That's
Well, with Donny, for me, right, I'm not sitting here saying Donny, and I don't think we're sitting here saying Donny's going to be the next Paul Scholes. The problem is that he hasn't been given a real run of games to prove it. They say, well, he's had 30-some appearances. Yeah, but most of them were in the 87th minute. Brought in, all that kind of or when he started a few times, it was with not even the B team, the C team, and so we haven't seen a consistent run of games. And the good problem we have with Donny van de Beek is that Ollie has proven through his stubbornness that he will play people who are not United quality or standard because he likes them. And he's given people long runs of games. For example, I don't mean this to bring up the past, but Dan James, everyone knows how I felt about him, right?
Yeah.
Dan James got more chances than, oh my goodness, this guy played so much in games he had no business playing in. And so all I'm asking of Ollie is keep the same energy, right? Give Donnie 6 or 7 games in the team. There's been times where McTominay was I call him, McPassion, completely horrible. Fred's been poor almost all year. So it's not like by playing Van de Beek, we're getting some big downgrade because we've been watching this rubbish all season. So Ollie clearly picks and chooses his favorites and the ones he really wants to play. And every manager has that right. So I'm not slamming him for that. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of things that Ollie's got credit for that, you know, to me, even the United fan base, right? So I get a lot of this, you know, you're fake, you're plastic, back the manager, back the team. And like I said earlier, first and foremost, that energy wasn't there for Jose because I watched Paul Scholes in an interview when we went and beat Juve in the Champions League under Jose on the road. We really just, I don't know if you remember that game, we kind of parked the bus, hit him on the break and won.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Scholes is up there saying that's not how United play. That's not how United should win. Jose should be winning the league with this team. But now that it's Ollie his homie, we've been playing that way for years, and we don't hear anything about it, right? This guy is so protected. But when you say anything, somehow you're against the club, back the manager. And for me, it bugs me that the fan base can be so toxically positive and negative, where people that actually use their brain or they understand the game and they see what they see. Like, for example, the fact that I'll call out Bruno for the stuff that he's doing that I think is really coaching. I'll be labeled a hater. You just hate Bruno. How can you dislike Bruno? It's like, man, you can't even question anything about anybody. I think to your point earlier, you said that now people are like, well, how can you question the players? You know, it's not all Ole, but the fact is the guy has never been a world-class manager, you know? And the thing is, this is why, you know, for me, it was always from Jose. I always wanted Pochettino, and the reason I wanted him was for a couple of reasons, mostly because he does bring through youth. He has a style play, and he had worked under garbage leadership before, right? So to your point about Conte is a Glazer nightmare. All these people screaming for Conte, there is no way in the world, if the Glazers are paying attention, they bring in Antonio Conte. There's no way. Conte is
he's a hothead as well. Do people honestly think that Conte is going to get on with Pogba? Like seriously, like people think like I'm not saying he's a bad manager. And also,
he's great, but he's horrible, and he's a 3-year project.
Yeah. And also, what I would say is that because people often say, "Oh, because he won Serie A with Inter, right?" This is why things need to be taken into context. Let's be real here. Okay, he was backed quite a lot by the Inter board. They spent a lot of money getting him Eriksen, Lukaku, Hakimi, all these different players, more so than even Juve were in that league. And he was going against Pirlo, it's a manager who's probably worse than Ollie, to be honest, in terms of his coaching experience and thing, etc. Like, he had nothing. He just got his. I think I read it like Juve basically hired him before he finished his coaching badges. That's basically what happened with Pirlo. So that's his main rival. So
what do you think about this? What do you think about this, G? Because this is a name I'm hearing a lot. I'm just curious your thoughts on Ten Hag. I don't have any issue with Ten Hag. It's like with anything. It's like, to be honest, what I want us to do like, almost like a PSG, where we basically give managers only 2-year contracts. So instead of this long 3-year, 4-year, 5-year thing, etc., we say, right, 2-year contract and then review after the 2 years. And if you're not good enough, okay, fine. If there's anyone good around, better, we'll give you a contract. So if that was the case, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, definitely get Ten Hag. I wouldn't mind taking risk on Conte because I'm like, it's only 2 years and you can review things after that year. If we had wing backs, I'd say okay to that.
Sorry?
Plus, if we had like real wing backs, I would say okay to Conte, but you know what you're getting with him. You're getting 2 years to 3, and he's going to be abrasive. And the board, they don't like that. That's what Ollie is. Listen, they could come out and slap Ollie's dog, and he's just going to smile. And he's in his dream job. And I don't blame the guy. It's not. I'm not even slapping him. It's just it's reality, and people don't get it. But I also have another question for you when it comes to I see Ten Hag. I have another name that it cracks me up because I see it going around Twitter. and people slating it. The idea of Graham Potter, and the reason I want to ask you about him is because people just laugh, right? Because he's Brighton's manager or whatnot. And the thing is, I looked at a little bit of his CV. He actually went overseas to earn his stripes. He did great in another league. He's got some title situations under his belt. He comes here, plays amazing football with a much less team. Now, I don't think he's ready for a Manchester United job at all. I think, maybe if he'd have went to Spurs or somewhere like that, Everton or somewhere, really just did bits, then get ready for the bigger move. But I find it funny that people just laugh at his name when he's done more in the game than what Ollie has done. If you put their CVs side by side, this was my point with Ollie to begin with. He was not ready to manage Manchester flipping United, but because he smiles and has allegedly got the DNA. And I've argued with people about this. They get mad, say I'm a hater because for me, do I think that he's a real legend? I don't know. I mean, he scored a legendary goal, so I guess theoretically that might make him a legend. And I know he did some good stuff, but he's a perennial backup. If you really look at his career.
No, he was brought in. Like, let's be real. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was brought in to basically steady the ship until the end of the season. That was the initial thing. But obviously, he was rewarded because of the positivity and the good results that happened, and people want to see how things. So, like I said, I don't have any issue or beef with people who, like I said, give Ollie a chance based on what we saw and also based on the history and stuff like that. And coming out of the negative, environment of Jose Mourinho into a kind of, because you even heard the players and staff around were like, oh, there's a positive. So I don't blame the board from hiring him based on what they saw and the natural effect. But like I said, the issue has been like, for example, you've just given him a 4-year contract. Why? It's that type of decision that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, why don't you just give because I think you've got 1 year. Why don't you just give him a 2-year, for example? Let's say you want to extend it, give a 2-year. Why have you just given him a 4-year contract? Doesn't make any sense. And this is where things go above the players and the manager and the ownership, where like actually making good decisions. Because even this transfer issue for these contract issues, for example, to be fair to Ollie, and yes, it's about his performances, but he's also not in charge of the contracts. I highly doubt that Ollie wanted Ander Herrera, for example, to leave. But if the ownership are going to be like, yeah, we're not going to give you whatever it is the money you want, it's like, okay, fine, see it. Same with Lingard, same with the other players, So we have historically been very bad at knowing when to negotiate and how to negotiate contract deals, and that hasn't changed. And we end up paying ridiculous amounts of money. If Pogba stays, if anything, I'd be suspicious because, like, how much do we agree to pay him? £500,000 a year, week. Like, he's our best player, but that's a bit too much, and might cause disagreement in the dressing room, which was the big issue apparently under Jose when Sanchez was around, because Sanchez was getting 450, and the reports are coming out that players weren't particularly happy that Sanchez, who did absolutely nothing under Jose and was a waste of a signing, was getting more than Rashford or Martial, some of the other players that are balling us, So that is something there.
Listen, bro, I love Paul Pogba. Everyone knows how much I love Paul Pogba. I personally feel like he is, when he's on form, I think right now with the way Messi and Ronaldo and Neymar are trending, outside of Mo Salah, which pains me to say, so I've never really rated him until this year. Paul Pogba was the best player on the planet. I mean, when he wants to be, he's can do things no one else can do. He's absolutely phenomenal, but he's not worth that money. I'm gonna tell you why. He's worth it if you can get it. He's worth it in the fact that you won't have to spend it signing a new player. Yeah. So I get them wanting to give them that contract so they don't have to go out and buy someone. Yeah. But as much as I love Paul Pogba, and there is reasons why I'm about to make this statement, he has not performed to the level of his ability consistently in a United shirt, and I'm his biggest fan. I have reasons for that, and a lot of it has to do with systems and coaching. Jose didn't fancy him and was angry with him, and I think it was a big ego thing between the two because it's Jose FC wherever Jose goes, and Pogba was a bigger personality. I think Jose don't like that, so I think he was trying to make the guy suffer. Ole just don't know what he's doing half the time tactically, and I don't even blame Ole; it's his coaches. So because when it comes to that, but Ole's too loyal to ever change his coaches. So we're stuck with what we're stuck with there. When it comes to this imbalancing the dressing room with money, even with Ole's contract, I think that giving him a contract, to me, it didn't bother me because if they want to sack him, they'll sack him, and it's jobs for the boys at United. And I think if anything, they'll have to pay him off, and it's just a nice little going away present to say thank you for what you've done. It's no skin off.
There'll be a long, big payoff because, I mean, to be fair, I don't think Ollie asks for much, so I don't think it'll be as expensive as, say, a Jose payoff or something. But obviously, they'd have to cover this year and then the 4-year contract that he's on. So it'll be a fair fee bob for United, which is why I'm like, the other thing as well is I don't really know what the objective of the Manchester United board is right now. I really don't. Is it what was it that was he this season? Was he supposed to compete for the league? So if he's supposed to compete for the league, then he's probably got this week to save his job. If it was get top 4, qualify through the Champions League route, maybe win a domestic cup, then they're probably not going to be too hasty. Because even though we lost,
that's their aim though. So I don't. If the board had anything about them in regards to winning things, I mean, I don't care. I had this discussion on Rich's show last year, and some people were really mad about it. He had to be sacked after the capitulation in the Champions League. I mean, it was embarrassing. We've lost to teams like Shahir and Young Boys, and people act like we're reactionary. We've been seeing this for time. So it's like, we know our board is the biggest problem. We know they don't have ambition, right? We already know this, but we can't do anything about them because if the Saudis can come in and say, here's $4 billion, and the Glazers are like, thanks, but no thanks, then because people want to get a game canceled, that all that's going to do, when they start protesting again, is that's going to make them buy some more players to shut up people, because that's what they do. And the people shut up. I mean, there was all this energy to get the Glazers out before lockdown, and then they signed Bruno, right? People shut up. Then they started going crazy again. They gave Ollie this summer to shut people up.
Even if you look at it, because to be honest, you're right, and I do think the Ronaldo signing in particular was a massive. Well, it was a massive distraction because the media was like, he's going to City, and so that can't happen, blah blah blah. But if you actually think about it, because I was having a conversation with people, and they were like, oh, the signings we made, we should be competing, we should be doing this thing. He's been backed. I'm like, if you actually think about it though, and obviously I don't know what he wanted as a coach, what the team wanted, but if you think about it, it wasn't like, he's been backed by the Gays. It wasn't like this was an organized backing like Abramovich with Lampard in terms of signings this summer. If you actually think about the signings, number one, Sancho, we were chasing Sancho for 2 years, maybe 3 years even. And we got him this summer because United were able to make a steal by Dortmund reducing the price to 77. It would have been better if he was with us last season, but we got him because he was 77, he was cheaper. So as far as the board concerned, we were great because we were able to save £50 million on Jadon Sancho. We only really got Varane because the terms of Real Madrid's contract weren't good enough, and Varane didn't want to. That was it. I don't think the board or United were scouting for Rafael Varane. It just so happened they wasn't going to sign a contract extension, and no one else was in for him because PSG had bought Ramos and Chelsea bought Thiago. We had other defenders, what have you. And Ronaldo, no one knew that Ronaldo was going to leave Juventus. It just was like, oh, I want to leave. And then I'm going to go to City and United pounce. So the point I'm trying to make by this is that 2 out of those 3 signings weren't planned signings. It was like they were opportunistic signings, and Sancho should have happened last summer. And so why I say that is that there was still no real planning structure going into this season. Because if there was, identifying the weaknesses of the team, you go, right, okay, much like Chelsea did, right, let's get our DM done. Let's get a backup right winger for Wan-Bissaka because he's doing done. Let's get this, let's get that, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the thing that gets me, and I see what Rich is saying here. See, Rich is already helping people load up the excuse, because this is what was going to happen, right? We didn't get a CDM. This is the big Oli excuse that he's going to get this year. And now Varane's hurt. It's even more. He's getting this excuse. Rich says we got good players, but still didn't get the CDM, which was priority number 1. Here's the thing, Rich. In my opinion, this is priority number 1 of the fans because we know what we need. I don't think that was Ollie's priority at all, because from everything I've heard, listening to guys like Fabrizio Romano and other transfer gurus, it was not a top priority because Ollie is perfectly fine with McFred. And so he's made his own bed, when it comes to that. I think that the money was obviously there because we had the money for Sancho the year before. If Ollie was really pushing for that CDM, I think we would have got one, in my opinion.
Maybe, I don't know, because obviously we didn't get Sancho. We got, when Sancho and Bruno and those players, when we wanted them, we got them. We got them a season afterwards. So I know, we know that on my board with Abramovich, especially with Abramovich Marina, where they don't actually sign players. I mean, they sign players for the manager, but at the same time, they don't sign players for the manager. They sign players, as many players, so that irrespective of who the manager is, that this Chelsea team has the best players that they can get for what they can buy. That's the mindset of Chelsea Football Club. That's why they can sack a manager, bring a manager in, do something with these top quality players that we have. Whereas with United board, it's like, who can we get for the cheapest?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, both Ronaldo, and we paid what? Barely any money for Ronaldo because
we're gonna make so much money off of him, it's not funny.
Dean, and we made money. And then Varane was out of contract, so we didn't pay we didn't pay, so also he wasn't out of contract, didn't sign your contract, so we paid less for 20-30 minutes for Varane, and obviously Sancho. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's not as if, and that's why I don't really know, because a lot of people are fans oh, but the Glazers really backed Ollie, and I go, yes, in a way they have, but it wasn't. It's not like other teams where I'm saying that it's actually structured.
Yeah, we just throw money at it. We spend a lot of money, but there's no plan.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. A lot of money for those plan, and so therefore going forward, you're still going to have that same issue with management, especially if you're going to hire someone like Conte, who will want a plan, who want these particular players, who want to do X, Y, and Z. And you're like, oh yeah, we can't get you this or this player. We can't get you him this summer, or we'll just get this guy instead. It's like that dude's not going to take that crap.
Yeah, it would be horrible to hire him just because of not in that he's not a great manager, not that he could not win. If we had a different board, then I'd say let's go for it. But with the board we have, the only good thing about Conte would be he is even worse than Jose. So he's really eventually going to go out the door ripping everything publicly. He don't care.
Yeah.
And so I've got time for that because we know the biggest problem. However, for me, I just feel like
I legit think they will go, because the reason why I think they'll probably go for Conte of Zidane is because my suspicion is that Zidane, I don't even know whether he like English, for example, is his first fluent substitute. So there's a language issue.
I think it's probably his third or fourth language, if that.
But he's also said that to be honest, he would rather, he doesn't mind the Premier League, but I think it sounds like he would rather a PSG or the French job, for example. Those are jobs where
watch this space, G. It would not surprise me at all if Pochettino is going to win the league at PSG. which PSG typically win the league. However, I've been watching a lot of different leagues of late, and it's amazing how I'm going to tell you right now, the French league is better than what people give it credit for, and it's amazing how everyone calls it farmers league and all this and that, but yet they want to buy all the players from there, the Chouaminis, the Mbappes, all these guys that's come through this league, the Contes, you can name player after player after player. One thing I've learned about the French league, I personally feel it's a harder league than the German league, because the German league is just Bayern, and no one, if Bayern even cares at all, no one can challenge them. And one of the reasons is because of how the German league plays. It's wide open, right? It's high lines like crazy. But in the French league, man, it's like a war zone. They'll kick Messi. They don't care. It's like over in France, they just want to, the lower teams, they fight, man. But where like even in Spain, when you watch some of these teams, before I used to watch Spain, it's like when Real Madrid or Barca roll up, they just roll over, right? They're just in all. Where in France, it's like, oh yeah, Neymar, you got a lot of tricks. I'm going to kick you. I don't care. So it's just crazy. And I think that I was against Pochettino going there. I think it's a poison chalice, because no matter what anybody says, Pochettino will get credit, of course, when they win some stuff. But does he? And I love Pochettino, but does he deserve it? I'm going to tell you why. He's not putting his same system he was playing at Tottenham in place there. They're not pressing. You imagine telling Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, and Di Maria, we're going to press and have energy, right? I mean, it's vibes. It's vibes and chill over there. It's just he's got much more balance and better team. As long as certain players stay healthy, right? As long as Verratti and Wijnaldum, who isn't playing as much, stay healthy, they just have such a good team that they can play with the vibes and all that. But I wouldn't be surprised if United are still talking to him, because I had a sneaky suspicion when he signed an 18-month contract. His plan was to see where the United job was in 18 months. That's just – I would not be surprised if Zidane went there. Yeah, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if PSG won the league and even won the Champions League and Poch still leave. It would not shock me, because I don't think that's where he wanted to be. Yeah, I just think that
that's why I think I genuinely think that like the PSG owners are looking at it and going like, listen, because. Listen, if Pochettino fails, something like that, they will. I think they want Zidane, is what I'm saying. I think they want to get, because it just makes so much sense that you have, guys from Paris, legend, won how many Champions Leagues, and then for Zidane himself personally to then go, because I assume at some point Zidane will want to take up the French job, for example. Yeah. So in his mind, it's like, Deschamps might leave after the World Cup next year, so maybe I could do that. Pochettino might flop, whatever, so I go into PSG. So either or, I've got options: French job or PSG. Why would I go to the Premier League when I'm going to have to maybe adjust to different football, language, style, etc., when I can be with people who want me and I'm familiar with the language and expectations, etc.? It just makes too much sense, So
I think if we didn't have Ronaldo, it would be a little easier to get him. I think the fact that he kind of didn't burn the bridge, but he moved on from Ronaldo a few years ago. Yeah, he's like, I want to go back to an even older Ronaldo. Yeah, I think that Zidane loves Pogba, and I think he would definitely get the best out of Pogba. Our midfield would be. Zidane doesn't get the credit I think he deserves as a tactical manager and not from his first stint. It was his second stint at Real Madrid that really impressed me. He didn't have all the same players, and he managed to win the league. And so I read a very interesting, I don't know if you've seen it. I just saw it yesterday. Some guy did a long, one of those big, long Twitter feeds on Zidane, and it was pretty good. I mean, he hasn't been my favorite choice. I would take him over Conte only because of what we've talked about already. Ten Hag, could be a shout. I would, you got him. Nagelsmann, I think, would be a lot of people's top choice, but he's not leaving Bayern.
He's not leaving Bayern, of course.
Yes, you must not forget that. That ship has sailed.
I mean, the only thing I can think is like how easy it is to pull international managers away, because I wouldn't mind, for example, Luis Enrique, even a Mancini, if you could pull them away from their Spanish Italian jobs, I would have them over Conte any day. I not over Zidane, because they've got that experience and especially Enrique, so with the type of football that they play, But I don't know how easy it would be to pull an Enrique or Mancini away from their national teams, especially before a World Cup. That's a bit tetchy, really.
Yeah. CG, I was still on I'm not gonna lie, I was on the romance thing earlier with Poch when he was still at Spurs, because my feeling was Poch was not a world-class manager.
Yeah.
But he had the potential, right? And so I wanted him to come to United because he has the same philosophy as our fan base. If you watch what he did at Spurs, and he's dealt with nonsense. And I felt like if he had come to United, built on what Ollie had done, and then him take that next step, then it's like he becomes our great manager, right? Like, you know, now even if he comes and does well, people say, well, you know, he cut his teeth at PSG, and it just annoys me when it comes to that. But I think that ultimately anyone that comes in here has to deal with this board, and that's the biggest problem. I mean, we can't all hit the lottery. I mean, could you imagine United with the Saudi ownership money, right?
Yeah, no, of course.
It would have been crazy. But G, man, I thank you for coming in and
No
joining
problem,
me
bro.
today.
It's been good to come on, man.
Yeah, I can't. I'm just getting back into the stream of things. I haven't been doing it a lot lately, just because I don't know if you know, I had a big move to Texas, and it's just been a crazy year, relocating, doing all this and that. But I hopefully I can jump back in with you sometimes on your stream. And
yeah, man, I've got life busy myself as well, so that's why I felt it's almost better to come onto, and even Rich is there sometimes as well, to have a brief time, just come onto people's shows and channels like around this time, just to vent rather than hosting my own, because I just don't have the time to host. But I always think you can do stuff, so you know, it's all good.
Well, Rich is in the comments. G, let people know where they can find you real quick before I wrap this
cool.
stream.
Yeah, so obviously I'm a United fan as well. I have a YouTube channel called Red Devil Studio, and I'm also on Twitter at We Are United X as well. I do match previews, which are still live, match reactions, and occasionally like podcasts and debates and what have you. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, G, for joining, man. I greatly appreciate it, bro, and I'll be speaking with you soon.
Take care, bud.
All right, guys, listen, we're wrapping up here. Thanks to G for jumping in, for Rich for being in the comments. I've seen you, for my guy Connor at Yank Talking Smack. Listen, if you guys are watching this and you don't subscribe to their channels, go subscribe, follow them on the madness that is football Twitter. As for me, I'm Sean, the Yank you love to love. You know how it is here at Worldwide Red Show. We welcome every opinion, no echo chambers. Anything you would like to say, discuss when it comes to our favorite team, you know, Manchester United. Yeah, I want to let some of you guys know too. I've really, over this last international break with the craziness I've been seeing, I think I am going to throw in some international football discussion at some point, especially surrounding the United States men's national team. I know some of you in Europe are like, we don't care. That's fine. There might be people here watching from the States that want to jump in and talk some about that, because we have an alleged golden generation on our hands, and you know, we need to talk about how that's going to work out, how it's going to play out, and if we as a country have the right manager to take them forward. Anyway, guys, listen, I just wanted to remind everyone, just to recap what we've been talking about. You know, we've just discussed the fact that every fan has a right to their opinion, and just because mine is different than yours is different than mine, doesn't make you real and me fake, or, you know, you rubber and me plastic, or whatever it is that people like to discuss. The facts are, you know, when your heart's broke, your head don't work. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. A lot of us are brokenhearted over what we've seen at our club. You know, so many people have held on so long back in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I was saying last year, people that were still backing him, I was like, what are you thinking? But it's okay. I get it. Listen, some people have to, you know, go the slow route and the slow death. It's been difficult, you know, but Ole has shown us for time now what to expect. And if this is what you would like to expect, consistent inconsistency, doing great, then doing terrible, doing okay, then doing terrible, then doing great, and not really winning anything. We've been to how many semifinals we haven't won? We've been to a final, was absolutely bottled. I mean, if this is what you want, then that's fine. But for people who have a high standard of the club where we want to win everything, then, you know, don't say that we somehow are fake or plastic because we're not backing the manager 100%, when most of you that say that hated Jose Mourinho, couldn't wait to get him out. He actually won stuff. Wanted Van Gaal out. He actually won stuff, right? So let's stop all this this crazy, you got to believe or think like me or you're not a real fan nonsense. It is annoying to no end. The toxic negativity and the toxic positivity are both equally as toxic. Have your opinion, stand by it, have enough backbone to stand by it, and let's keep rocking and rolling. At the end of the day, we all want what we think is best for our club, and we all love and support Manchester United. And for you, again, that say, well, so-and-so said they want us to lose. They're not a real fan. Okay, how do you figure? Some people have down tools as much as the club have down tools. The way they see it is this. The only way this club is ever going to go forward is to get this guy out. And the only way to ever get this guy out is for the club to lose so much, so often, so embarrassingly that this terrible board has to act. So while I personally wouldn't take that viewpoint because I want us to win every single match, I get where you're coming from as well. And I won't label you fake for that opinion. I just personally wouldn't have it, especially against the bin dippers. But I'll say this. It makes perfect sense. If you are going to have that opinion that you want us to lose, what better, more grandiose way to say it than we want to lose to the dirty Scousers? Because if that doesn't get the fans' opinion and the fans to shift when we lose to them clowns, and I'll tell you this. I'll say this because I'm going to take my hat. Well, no, I'm not going to take my hat off. I'm going to tip my hat to Mohamed Salah because I'm going to tell you this. For the last 2.5 years, I didn't feel there was a more overrated player in the world than Mohamed Salah. His touch many times was horrible. Many times I've watched him play. It took him 10 chances to score a goal. I mean, when he'd play United, there's times he'd have chance after chance, and he just couldn't score. This year, something's happened. His game has matured. His touch has improved. His skills have improved. This guy is playing on another level. So props to you, sir. As much as I can't stand your club, and if your right and left toe fell off tomorrow and you had to come to a sudden end of your amazing career, you're rich enough, you'll be okay. I probably wouldn't cry for you. Mohamed Salah, guys, has really turned into a world-class player. It's not just hype and stuff now. It's not just XG or GA or everything else people would say. But, man, he has been playing on another level. I hope it's a purple patch. I hope this isn't the new Salah for like the next 2 or 3 years. Because if that Salah shows up against Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire this weekend, we're in trouble, guys. I'm going to tell you this for free because that guy right now is on fire. So if there was ever a weekend we needed to really park just some kind of crap housery bus and keep from losing big, let's do it. Because no one, well, I'm yes, people do want to lose to the Dippers, but I'm not one of them. I don't want to lose to the Dippers. Anyway, guys, this has been Sean from Wild Red Show. Just wanted to come at you a little bit today. At my lunch break, had to get it off my chest. All this, you're a fan, you're not a fan nonsense was getting on my nerves. So if you need a place you can come, spit out your opinion, whether people like it or not, this is a safe spot for it. I might be like, bro, what are you thinking? And laugh. But at the end of the day, man, I respect people. I respect their opinion. Even the ones I disagree with, I prefer to be around people that don't always sing from the same daggone hymn sheet. Those echo chambers just bore me. Anyway, I'm hoping that United get back on track because as of right now in October, all they said we'd be in a title race toward April. And right now we're out of a title race almost in October. So this, guys, is not looking good. If you want to know my personal opinion about the manager, if you haven't figured it out already, it would be this. What should the club do going forward? In my opinion, Ole should not have been sacked earlier in the year when people were saying, even after the embarrassment of young boys. It's just getting untenable now. It's getting bad when you're hearing rumblings from the players. Bringing in the likes of Ronaldo wasn't smart for Ole, in that you brought in a personality that's bigger than you are, even bigger than the club right now. The thing is, do we, with another bad result where we're completely out of the title race, which getting beat by Liverpool. For example, people think we're just going to walk over Atalanta. Atalanta are playing phenomenal. I would not be shocked if they turned us over on Wednesday. If we lose Wednesday and lose Sunday, Ollie has to go. If you ask me what I would do, I would give it to a temporary caretaker in-house guy for the entire season. And no matter what he did, I don't care if he went full Di Matteo, he don't get the job. You plan the whole year for the next manager and you do your due diligence. You interview who you want. You come up with a plan, which is too much for this board to do, I know. But this is what should have happened after Jose left, and it didn't because people were singing in the crowd. Don't care how much we win. Don't care how much people are singing. Don't care about none of that. Make a plan, stick with it, and hire your guy, and we can respect that. And hopefully it's, I know some people want Conte. I think that G did a great job of explaining why that could be disastrous. I don't think that the Glazers go anywhere near Antonio Conte. I just don't see it. Do I think that he would win stuff at United? I don't know, because he's a great manager, but would they back him the way he needs to be backed? The type of players he needs, we would have to get rid of some big players and bring in wing backs and different things. I just don't know how that would work. Zidane, I know many people say he's a mystery. He's not a mystery to me. He's a serial winner and been a phenomenal manager. Don't know about, the language situation or all that. So, I mean, would Zidane be a good choice? Yeah, but, as G said, could he be waiting on the PSG job? We have Ten Hag as a shout. A lot of people want him. I know some people want Graham Potter. And as Connor said earlier, it might be too early for that. But what does our board think? Because like I said, if you study Graham Potter's CV, it's better than Ollie's. And he plays better football. And he's a better manager. So why not give him a shot? I personally wouldn't, but I see the argument there. You have Nagelsmann, who is not leaving Bayern. So forget that. You have Nagelsmann understudy, who's done really good with no players. In Jesse Marsch, he's not ready for United. He has to get to a bigger club first. Who else is out there? I don't know. I mean, Luis Enrique. Well, is he going to leave before the World Cup? No. Mancini? No. I don't know where we go. For me, it might go all the way back to what Ed wanted and what I wanted to begin with, and that would be, Poch leaving PSG after his 18 months and building on what all he's done. I still personally believe that's the best route. That's just my belief. Call me insane, call me a Pochasexual or whatever you want. I just think that Poch was meant for United because United was the place that could make him. And if you don't make it, then bin him off after 2 seasons. Who knows? Ultimately, Ollie's done some good things. He's also done some things that aren't as good. And to be honest with you guys, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't turn things around and the board doesn't get things under control, we're going to have a mess on our hands at the end of the year. Then all of the good work that Ollie's done, for me, is completely out the window. Because as I said, he hasn't brought through youth. He hasn't. Mason don't count. People say, oh, he brought through Mason. Mason was coming through under Jose. I was hearing videos about Mason Greenwood 2 years before Ollie was ever even in charge. So Mason's a generational talent. I don't care if Pee Wee Herman was managing. He was coming through. But if you want to give him Mason, give him Mason. Who else has he brought through? No one. Oh, he's giving debuts. That don't matter. Okay, that's all for PR. He hasn't brought people through. Brandon Williams is the only player he tried to bring through. And Brandon Williams, quite frankly, isn't United standard. That's why he's off on loan somewhere, Norwich or wherever he's at. Not good enough. So ultimately, youth, courage, success. As I said earlier, I haven't seen any of those things. That's just me. Hopefully, guys, we can turn it all around, start winning every match, and all sing kumbaya. I don't see it happening. So the earlier we make changes, the better. I just think that when it comes to the manager, I don't know what you guys think. Get in the comments. Let me know. I don't know if I would just bin off Ollie and bring in the next big name immediately. Like I said, what would it hurt to give it to a caretaker to the end of the season? Everyone says McKenna coaches anyway. I had a guy on another channel that I'm friends with who's all up in my football Twitter telling me that half of Europe wants to hire Kieran McKenna, which, okay, sure, whatever. But okay, let him have a run of games. But no matter what, don't hire any of all these assistants full time. Do your diligence. That's just how I would view it. Hopefully, guys, we can get this win against Atalanta on the midweek, because I don't know about you. I need to progress in the Champions League. I cannot have Champions League Varane and Cristiano Ronaldo playing on Thursdays in the Europa. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Ole has done something that no manager in the history of professional sport has done in the last 10 years. He's got Cristiano Ronaldo not scoring, which is absolutely crazy. Which, by the way, if you don't know why that is, I can't help you. We could spend another hour on tactics. Ronnie doesn't fit Ole's way of playing at all. He was absolutely a money purchase, a Glazer purchase. And I had time for it because I couldn't see him going to City. It was making me sick. But the thing is, when you buy Ronaldo, you don't bring Ronaldo in and try to force him to play your system that he don't fit into. If you buy Ronaldo, you have to change how you're playing to get the best out of him, which is the fact that he's just going to be a guy around the box trying to score. That's it. He's not the Ronaldo he was before. He's not picking the ball up on the wing and blowing past people. He's just not that guy anymore. If you stick him in a City team or someone that creates chances for him in the 5-yard box, 6-yard box, he's going to score 30 or 40 goals, but that's it. He's not pressing. He's not tracking back. He's not doing those things. So quite frankly, when it comes to what Ole's trying to do, Edison Cavani is better for Ole's system than Ronaldo. But it's too late. You made that signing. You have to get the best out of it. I personally don't see it happening. Anyway, United fans, start treating each other with a little more respect, please. Stop all the judgment and please, for the love of all things holy, if you've been one of those people slagging off Ole Outers for a year and a half, and now all of a sudden you've seen the light because this has been going on for a year and a half to 2 years, don't come at me with this. We just need to respect each other crap when someone calls you out for your nonsense, right? I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to respect you one way or the other. But stop playing the victim. I see people online now talking about, just don't slag them off. They've changed their mind. Man, stop. You was calling everyone else plastic, fake, and everything else. Don't do it. It would be best if we just respected each other. Banter is one thing. This who's a real fan, who isn't, is another. Just my 2 cents, guys. Thanks for hanging in. It's been Sean from Wild Red Show. You know how we do. Like, subscribe, get involved. It's the Yankee I love to love. And some of you after watching this is probably like, nah, man, we're good. I'm good with this guy. Help me out. Let's grow the channel and start streaming a lot more live. If you'd like to be a part of the channel or you'd like to share some of your input, don't hesitate to hit me up on Twitter. I'd love to get you involved. Anyway, guys, until next time, it's been Sean, and I'm out.